Hello, One Good Norm here. Gonna go over my hands with my match against JHSnacks. Yes, I'm a Dirty Zane player. Um, Doing the scouting report, I saw that Snacks usually plays DeGray and Geiger with some sets in there too. And I felt like with that combination, I really could start Midori. Uh, and given the amount of time I had, I figured might as well just go for the gusto and play Zane. Not that I think Zane is a necessarily easy character to play. You have to understand how certain things work. But once you kind of understand those things, he kind of plays themselves, and it's just kind of, playing the matchup from there. So I kind of expected the Geiger open because of the fact that I'm known to play grapplers a lot. So, and obviously Geiger's a pretty decent matchup against grapplers. So I was pretty much expecting this out of the gate. The only thing I didn't know really is how Snacks was going to open. I don't know if he was going to go for the safe kind of just blocky type of open, or kind of blocks if he was going to throw, if he was going to try to use any J's that he has right away or anything like that. So I kind of maneuver through that first and then kind of go from there. But I do remember this game one being actually quite scary with the way how things happened. So let's go ahead and start with this one. Let's see, we go. 1 second. There we go. It's a little better. Okay. So I'm pretty sure I start. I think we talked about the fact that I opened throws all game, but I actually did open block this first game, and really it was just a matter of I wanted to see how he played. This Kapopo is not wrong. I'm not sure which one I hate more either. I actually like Geiger. I think Geiger's actually quite a lot more interesting than Zane. But I go ahead and go for throw here at this particular point, thinking maybe he's going to play quite defensively. I do have a J or a Q to kind of be able to get good damage off of this if it happens, and he does play a defensive 9. Now, one thing I noticed throughout the game is he likes to I don't know if he was alternating blocks because of better. Like I'm assuming that 9 block was not in his hand that first turn because he switched over to it. And just on a valuation thing. I'm not sure if that's purposeful or whatever, but I know he tried to valuation trap me at one point later in the set. He actually told me about it. And so, I didn't know what to make of it at the time. So, but it was something I definitely noted right away that he used a different block. Might matter, might not matter. It just helps with reads more or less. But it's good things to notice. I only noticed it because I write this stuff down. I do write down what my opponents play to get an idea of to get some idea of some trends or something like that I may miss as I'm thinking through the match, or maybe I'm thinking through my own decisions. I may miss something, and then in between games, I'll review that briefly to see if there's something I missed, and then go on to the next game. So we do hit it here. We get the 6 to use as a linker. We might as well go ahead and get the knockdown with J. You can make some arguments not to do that just because I don't really have a good mix-up here. But I think the not mix-up's okay in this case. Although I do have the dodge. I was expecting that if he had a king, he'd probably throw a king, just to kind of send the message right away. But instead of dodging right away, I just decided to block. And this is where he throws his first J, which I thought was quite interesting that he threw J on wake up. I mean, it loses to any medium normal that I put out, and a dodge. So really, these are the only 2 options that beats is the block and the throw. I thought that was a very interesting wake up option for him. I don't have an opinion one way or the other. I don't know what his hand composition is. Actually, one of the reasons I'm doing this now is because I actually want to go back and look to see like what happened to his hands, because I think with the next 2 games you'll see why I'm so interested. This wake up spot for me is not exactly great, but I don't think necessarily his hand quality is super good either. So I believe here I decide to 2 it, just in case he decides to play another jack or he plays some other cross up normal. I can get out of that. In this case, he played a throw, so it ended up working out. It wasn't the read I had, but it works out. And in this situation, I figure I'm going for damage. I decided just to play the 1 because I figure it's a pretty safe bet that a lot of these face downs, especially this hand size, was probably a joker. But I might as well take the free card and see what happens. It was a decent sized card. If it was 2 blanks on shenanigans, I might have just let it rock. But given it was a Q on the shenanigans, I gotta play it. So that's a good. And to his point, his side, that's a good time to kind of to play that when you see the shenanigans come that way. In fact, are you allowed? Actually, the timings of that. Let me check the timing of that real quick. Okay, he has to play the face down before shenanigans. Okay, sorry. These are one of the little nuances when you play a lot of characters you may not pick up, but it's not a nuance that affects my decision. The only decision I have here is there a joker or not a joker. I just have to remember against other Zane players. I can't wait for it. But anyways, moving right along. Options here are basically just a 5 throw or a 5 dodge, really, if I want to open up. I feel with Zane, you can be pretty aggressive with what you have. I feel also, too, I need to do that against Geiger because Geiger can just blow you out once. As the game gets longer and longer, Geiger can just build up a hand and just blow you out of the water. So putting him down sooner rather than later is the way to go. I go for the dodge here, which ends up being the right play. He was obviously looking to kind of poke out a throw there. Shenanigans doesn't really help me out there, but I wasn't really willing to pitch my queen yet. Here I could power up for the ace, but I'm okay with leaving 1 ace here, unlike in other positions, because A, they're my only blocks. B, I actually like 6s as meaties, because a lot of times they're going to try to protect against the odds, like the 7 and the 9. So I like throwing 6s every once in a while for meaties. So I would definitely want to keep them. I thought they were pretty valued at that particular point. More for the 6s than they were as the ace. Plus, I can always pick up an ace during shenanigans, so that's fine. In lieu of not really having a read and not really wanting to throw that 5 quite yet in any regard with not having a read, I went ahead and just blocked there, which is fine. Taking time to do that, to add that into the mix, is nothing wrong with that. Although at this point now, I decide to go ahead and dodge. I would like to see me use my 4 there. I wasn't going to use Creative Destroyer. He didn't give me a reason to. And that 5 is a pretty important throw speed for me. So using it as a dodge probably wasn't the best idea. Again, I'm kind of valuing my 6s a little higher. So I go ahead and block here. I remember considering using the 10 as a dodge. And it didn't end up happening. I do go ahead and face down here. I mean, it's a card he wants to get rid of, Creative Destroyer, because if he does start powering up for aces and then, I make him dump his hand, then that's going to suck for him. So I think it's an opportunity he really, really wants to at least minimally get rid of it. So I go ahead and play a face down. And, he throws the throw in there. Might as well. But I am able to save a little bit of damage. We're in a situation right now where we have to deal with a wake up, and now wake ups get a little bit scarier because now Spiral is in play. We know he now has a Spiral in hand. It's now Temporal Distortion. Blocks are pretty much out, and he can really cross me up very easily anyway. So wake ups with Zane is a tough proposition to begin with anyway, since you have no odd blocks. So my options here are: does he have the aces? If I think he doesn't, then to play a 2 on the wake up, or at the aces if I think he has aces, because it undercuts one side, and he's probably not going to cycle or do evolution on this one, at least in this spot. And then I could also go for the hero throw if I think he's going to dodge or something like that. I decided to go for the aces because I was kind of fearing that he might have the aces and he might try to hit a block, but looks like we went for the safe cross up in a sense, and this covers that option as well. So look at my hand. I definitely have some power up opportunities here. I don't necessarily have to keep both queens, but they do help with damage. And given the fact that I really have, well, I'm not in a position where I have to worry about a wake up at this point. So I think keeping hold of him is okay. But now all of a sudden I'm back into a time spiral issue here now. So this is what I meant by I felt like this was a pretty scary situation. Every time I played not time spiral, excuse me, temporal distortion. Every time he played that, it really put me on edge because you know, definitely took my life in my hands. I play the king there because it prevents him from being able to continue his combos if he decides to attack. If he decides to throw, I get the option. I get to, you know, do 10. But he did happen to block there, which was a good read on his part that I might do something like that. Unfortunately for him, I was able to draw another king. Now, this is a misplay on my part. Being in the position I am, I do need to get those aces in my hand to have at least that option. So I should power up the sixes and the queens to get the two aces to be able to undercut his at least his 2.0 side of the aces. But I got lucky and I drew a king. So definite mistake on my part that could have really put me in a bad situation. 11 cards, the Temporal Distortion, me being on my back. It's a really bad spot for me in all ways, and my life can pretty much liquidate very easy here because I also don't have Joker, which really doesn't matter anyways because most of that's unjuggable damage anyways. So it's a really, really, really bad spot for me, even with the life totals being what they are. But since I didn't expect I don't think he would expect me to play another king. I go ahead and just play it right away. I do stop that jack because that jack could have really, really hurt me. Get the knockdown, get rid of Temporal Distortion. And I think these are you know, just the king alone is a big reason why Zane does very well in this matchup. It does so much in that position. Provided you hit it, of course. I think this is where, yeah, he powered up for everything. Yeah, he had all 4 jacks. You see there, he had all 4 jacks in his hand. And he could have pumped there for 44 damage just off the jacks alone. And since these are, I believe they're linkers with no, whoops, look at the wrong thing. I believe they're linkers, right? Yeah, these are linkers that cost no CPs. You can put cards in between them. So, I mean, that's 44 damage by himself. It's not it could very much end up being all of a sudden a lot more than that. Now, it turned out he didn't have any of the aces whatsoever. He just powered up for 3 of them. All came from his deck. So he didn't even have the 2 aces necessary to play. But, you know, you don't always know that. You do need to respect those options, especially when he plays Temporal Distortion. It's one of those things you just have to look out for. So now I'm in a position where I need... And now he's going to also draw a card and be able to look 4 deep with all 4 jacks in the yard, too. So his hand quality should be really, really good. Given that... a king here, and since he hasn't played a king yet, is definitely a high probability. But, you know, I decided with the life lead that I had at that point, and the fact that it wouldn't have hurt me that bad if I get hit by a king, I went ahead and went for the high meaty to try to put this game to bed. If I hit with that, I have two, like just in my hand alone, I have the 9, the queen for 16, this for 22, this for 29. I basically have the kill in my hand without any card coming from the shenanigans. So I just went ahead and went for it. It was a calculated risk, even though king was a high probability, and I did end up eating it. But unfortunately, we see the third Temporar's Distortion, and now I'm in real sad shape because now I know he has aces to do 40 damage apiece, possibly more, at least another jack. I'm definitely in range of death here. And I have no wake up whatsoever. If he decides to time spiral me here, use the time spiral side of the aces, I'm dead. I'm just straight dead. And again, I put myself in that position because I didn't power up for those aces. He doesn't necessarily know I don't have the other 2 aces, but with 2 aces in my yard, it seems unlikely. But yeah, I was just complete straight dead in playing the double ace time spiral side. Luckily, he did not. He actually played the jack. I undercut it, which got me out of that situation. And I believe I decided here to just do some damage. Did he face down there? Did I miss lethal and just didn't notice? No, he did not face down. Why didn't I just play all 4? So if I play all 3 Qs, I can only get 1 ace. But the way I played it allowed me to get both aces and a potential kill. Okay, I do like the way I played it. Because that's exactly the way I played it. I picked up both aces to represent lethal in hand. Oop, back up. And I decided to try to come at it from the dodge. We end up going dodge block. Now at this point, by the way, I'm feeling pretty comfortable. 3 temporal distortions are in the yard. As long as I don't see the other one, I'm fine. I still need to respect the aces that could deal 40 damage to me. I'm not dead, but I gotta be careful. This is an interesting situation here. I saw him play some defense at 10 cards. I don't know if he was waiting for me to play the... my thought is he was defending against the aces. So that's why I decided to throw. I figured he might play another card in defense. He does. He dodges, and then I just go for lethal. But I think I went via... How did I go out? Did I do 2, 9? Oh, I just played the 9. Right. Because if he did face down, I didn't lose any cards, and you know, I got the knockdown, so I don't have to worry about that. And I believe I crash bomb here. Yeah. And the reason for the crash bomb is even if he blocks, it's 5 chip, and I still have chip on the aces to finish it off. And I protect against pretty much any attack or any throw. So as long as he didn't block, I won, and if he did block, I was still 1 chip away. So got pretty lucky. Certain things didn't go the way it did on that first game. And that was the game I definitely was like the one where I worried the most, because being knocked down against a temporal distortion turns is just, it's nerve-wracking. It's one of those things where you have to play it right, especially when you play Zane, who doesn't have a lot of options. I mean, it has some, but unless you have them, it's really, really tricky. And Like I said, I got lucky that I didn't get any aces to the face. So wrong hand. So went over the sets, which of the three that I knew he played sets, Geiger and DeGray was probably the best one in this position, because the matchup in and of itself is closer, but also I think sets has game against everybody in most cases because the mix-up is just straight real, and as long as her hands, you know, you're able to dump her hands, it's very difficult to really say she's ever out of the match. She can definitely deal the damage very quickly, very fast, and if the options are mixed up right, and she's a character that by winning, she doesn't have to win a super amount of combats basically to get through it. It's just that her downfall is the fact that she only has 7D life, meaning that against a character like Zane who hits pretty hard, she can't make too many mistakes. And I think with sets, it's one of those things where it's just you always ride that line playing that character. I don't know if I explained that very well, but so moving on. So starting out here, here's when I actually did throw. Now I did throw the second turn of the first game, but obviously I threw pretty early. The 5 throw here is paramount because she actually beats my my 7 throw. So I do have to keep that, although the 7 is a very important card for her. So a lot of times my 7 will still be the dominant throw in a lot of cases. So really it's the 8 that's better. But just in case, I decided to go ahead and throw the 5 here. The reason why I did it is because I have a really nice mix of cards to throw with shenanigans. If I get a J, I can use the queen. If I don't get a J, I can use, I can use the J from here and just use the, there's a lot of damage here for me to throw. So, and we catch a block early, which is usually a sign that can't really dump that first hand cleanly, which is hard to do in 6 cards. It's all like there's very few combinations that will get down to 1 card on that opening hand. And I did find the J from shenanigans, so I go ahead and use that version, and I still have 2 in hand. And this is what I mean by the life total being a problem. No need to create a destroyer because I don't have it. And then we get to the 4th J already. So if I can land hits, this is pretty much exactly what I need going to get sets, because you take away that dodge, you take away a very, very good option for her. I'll go ahead and play the meaty here, figuring that the hand was poor, so might use a block to get up. Didn't think a queen was in the hand at the time. I mean, obviously, I'm going to get we'll clash with an ace, but oh, I didn't. I thought I did the meaty here. I thought this is why I did my meaty 6. I apologize. I was actually a block. Sorry. It also looked like I did there. This might have been game 3 that I'm thinking of where I did that. So, okay. I actually don't like to block there. I actually like the explanation I gave instead. I think the 6 is fine. I think, especially with the 2 jacks I have in my hand, I can go 6, 7, whatever card shenanigans throws at me, jack. Do a bunch of damage and do another knockdown again. So I don't know. I feel like laying it on there was better, but it turned out to work in my favor. Doesn't make it the right decision. It's just one of those things. Now that we're in stand-up mode, this is a much tougher proposition. I don't have any dodges to speak of, so if I'm going to be offensive, the only offense I can really do is a throw. If I think she's going to dodge, or I'm just going to have to down back. And I think here I down backed. And yeah, pretty much every single one of my options got beat. I could gold burst, but I feel like blue burst is so good. Or the rewind time, whichever way you want to say it, is so good against Setsuki that I just wanted to keep it for then. And I was always going to play a face down no matter what, whether I had it or not. But probably would have played the Joker early. So here I decide at this point might try to, like, the hand still hasn't improved or anything else like that. Might try to dodge into something, you know, something like that. And it turned out I was wrong and got undercut. I go ahead and just dump it right here. It's not uncommon for everybody to just face down with this many cards in hand against Setsuki. Figuring he's going to try to dump as many cards as possible. Turned out to be a pretty spaghetti hand, but you got to work with the hands you're dealt. And I believe there was a lot of powering up that happened right now. Still save damage, but not the kind of damage I was expecting with that many cards. But yeah. A lot of powering up to get down to that hand size. Oop, back up. So the way I played it, since this was the first speed of the Fox, is I feel like I was going to get tested with the dodge. So I went ahead and threw. And I got bopped. I did draw my other Joker already. I guess you could say maybe I want to save this for later, but there's no way that he's not dumping all of his cards here, so I might as well save it on the damage. Does he have a... Yeah, he did have a power up. Oh, back to train up. Okay. So, I get a little cheeky here. And this could have easily cost me the match because I'm about to dump all my jacks. But I felt like it was an opportunity to threaten an maximum anarchy and then just go for it. Because a lot of people are just not gonna go for it. And his hands, I believe at this point, is 2 aces and something. So I'm not sure this was the right play, but it was the most exciting play, and I decided to go for it being up a game. So I go ahead and get all the aces. And it also kills, so if this works, the game's just over. So I go ahead and go for the gambit. It was a little madman of me to do, especially with using... I have no J's left. And I just dumped 3 J's. So it really made this match harder on myself by doing that. But I felt like if I hit it, the mental bonus I'd get out of that would be enough to kind of carry me through the game 3, or you know, show him that I'm nuts enough to do that with Zane. So he's got to watch out for that. You know, there's a lot of mental stuff that kind of comes into play by doing this. And it really is a path to winning this particular game right here and now. So I don't necessarily dislike it. And I just also decided to just play it raw. And I got blocked. I didn't expect it. Of all the things to come out, I did not expect to block. Especially with, you know, trying to dump their hand. I might have expected the throw there too, thinking that I might dodge into it, and definitely had the throw. Like, that was definitely a possibility. And if I dodged into it, I was just going to play it too. Like, I wasn't going to not play it, but turned out it didn't work, which is unfortunate for me. But Set's hands kind of clogged at this point, so not too bad of shape. But I have to imagine that she's going to start. Yeah, and I mean, it's like most don't believe. But I believe here's when I start dodging, expecting some of those aces to start come flying at my face, just to dump them, get the damage out there, and then hoping for shenanigans to kind of bail me out. I don't know what I was expecting shenanigans to do. It wasn't going to give me any jacks. They were all gone. It wasn't going to give me aces. They're all gone too. I guess crash bombs were it, but basically, my main mode of damage at this point is just dodging correctly. I believe here, do I throw the 2 or do I block or do I dodge? Actually, I don't remember this particular knockdown. Looks like I dodge. I think that's okay. And I did say that I was expecting those aces to start coming at me, so. And we have another 9 damage that came in. So Shenanigans didn't help me last time, but it helped me this time. So 19 damage off those 2 dodges isn't too bad. And she's at a reasonable total to deal with. I didn't really feel comfortable. I wasn't sure what was going to happen there. And I wanted to increase my hand quality to see if I can get some of those aces back in my hand. So that's why I blocked there instead of dodged, even though I had the dodge. Here I believe I dodged again. I haven't seen many throws. I think I saw that one throw early and I didn't see any other throws, so I just didn't believe they were going to get thrown. So I wanted to, I decided to go ahead and dodge there. I believe I did the same thing here again. No, I decided the 5 throw this time. Which seems okay because a dodge is definitely, with 3 cards, a dodge and then play the card, you're down to 1 card, so I thought that was definitely a possibility, but found a Q finally. And then dumped another Q, which was kind of interesting. And I believe this is where the valuation came in. Bag of tricks, and I think it was Q7Q was the bag of tricks. Yeah, I got back both Qs. Actually, okay, so this is not where the valuation trap came in. This is the next one. So this is something I wanted to look at. It was Q of hearts, Q of spades that was pulled back. This time I thought throw was definitely coming. I was wrong. With picking up 2 Qs, I was like, he's not going to throw the Qs now. I was wrong. So there's a Q of spades. There's a Q of hearts. Okay. But nothing else. So I was like, that's a little strange. Yeah, I was like, the hand's just not so good. So I know there's at least a 7 in there. But I don't think he was willing to throw it. So I believe here is when I dodged again. Yeah. And I didn't necessarily dodge against this Q, and this is where the trap came in, thinking that because he didn't play the Q again, like to pump, that he might not have another Q back. I didn't actually think of that, but I was more or less going for what could he possibly have left. He's not going to use the 7. He may attack with something with whatever he drew with. So since I didn't think a throw was coming, it was the thing that was probably going to give me the best chance to get damage in. So that's why I went with that. I think here, did I use the 6? Yeah, I used the 6. Slowly chipping away. So we get a king here, so we finally get some damage in my hand. 3 cards left. 3 queens down. I know he's got a 7. Now the 7 actually could be used for damage here as a throw. But I think at this point, it's just another attack that's going to come at me, so I played the king to try to eliminate anything, and it turned out I got go bursted on. So now I got to contend with more aces. Which is a good time to go burst. Here I thought, okay, he's going to play that 7 now. I called it out. It was one of those things where he hadn't played it. He hadn't played it. He hadn't played it. I didn't expect him to play it, but I thought there was a possibility, especially after drawing those 2 aces, that he was thinking that I was going to dodge there. Especially since I dodged all the aces last time. I was like, there's a very big possibility that 7 throw's coming at me. So I decided to go ahead and hit him with the big boot. And it ended up working out for me. It ended up being a read that worked out. It was probably one of the few strong reads I think I had during the match. Most of the time was kind of educated, like, you know, some probability plays and stuff like that. But this was the one play I remember that I called out directly. Obviously, because I played a freaking 7 of all things. And I just have to play I have to play them all out just to try to finish this game, especially since I really didn't have much damage left in my hand now that I had no aces and no jacks, so I had to go for it, and it turned out to be okay. Last game. Oh no, I didn't want to make it public. There we go. Oh, private, I mean. So I guess a little bit of spoilers there, but so this case, I was like, okay, well, I threw pretty early the first game, and the first thing I did, I throw the first game in the second game. So I don't think he's going to expect me to throw this game. So that's already playing my eye. The second thing is I have a queen and a jack. I got all my bases covered for max damage and a knockdown. So I said, what the hell? Let's go ahead and throw basically 3 games in a row. I wouldn't call that necessarily a read. That was more of a well, he hasn't shown me that I can't throw this early. And that's not necessarily a read. That's more or less just putting your opponent to a test, to see if they're willing to stop you. And I start through again. Yeah. So, and that was also my spot. It came a little snarkier than I meant it to. So sorry about that, Snacks. That it wasn't meant to be snarky. It was meant to be playful. So yeah, it was one of those things where I got the damage in my hand to make this work. No matter what comes up with shenanigans, I might as well go for it. And I believe here is when, yeah, and unfortunately that actually gave me some additional information about him. Not that I didn't think that they weren't necessarily not paying attention, but it confirms a read I have that it's somebody that's going to pay attention to how I'm playing. So I need to, make sure that I'm, adjusting accordingly, So I got a little extra information out of it. So not too bad. Hard to say if it came into play, but it's just one of those little extra edges you need to look for sometimes. So talking about earlier about the playing a 6 instead of the 7 or the 9 on the meaties, because a lot of people are going to try to protect against the odd part of the mix-up. Yeah. And that's exactly what I did, and I was able to get by it. And again, I have the cards to, and that was a lull not at that, but a lull at the you think of. I was thinking that wasn't meant to be a lull on the fact I hit him with a 6. So I hope he read that correctly. And of course, my distaste for Zane, even though I'm sitting there playing him. When playing against sets, yeah, I have this humongous life lead. You just can't rest because you can't really play with your food because she can definitely take you to 0. I feel like she's a character that you see string a lot of combats together, but if you look at these power-ups that are happening right now, 2 6s, 2 jacks, 2 kings. Wow, that's actually kind of crazy. I'm not sure. I don't play sets enough, so I guess I can't. I guess it's really hard to get rid of. Like the 6s, I get, yeah, for sure. I mean, the king, the starlight kick, the king, I'm definitely going to get whacked on. Unless I play king. That's the only thing. But if I try to throw and you play the king, you can go king, pump, pump, jack, jack, king. Get rid of all the same cards, but then you're only down to 2. Yeah. That's a hard spot. I mean, the damage is there for sure. And a knockdown. But that's hard because... Well, he had 1 card in hand. No, that actually would have bumped down the 1 card. Maybe that... I don't know. I don't want to speak for his hand. I want him... You know, I don't know what he's thinking, so it's very difficult for me to make that kind of decision. But I remember seeing that and being like, that was a lot of stuff. But at the time, I didn't like take too strong of a look at it, other than to note that a couple kings and a couple jacks were out of the mix. And then he was going to get Speed of the Fox. Oh, yeah, and I guess the other reason I was questioning it, this part I do remember. I was questioning it just slightly because it's tough, right? Because if I play in normal, it's a 1.0 speed, which he doesn't have anything that's going to beat that. He's only got things that's going to clash with that. So I could definitely see powering out for the 6s just to have an ace to have that clash possibility. He's got to eat some damage, but at least he'll be on his feet. But at the same time, doing a Speed of a Fox while you're on your back is tough because you lose that dodge portion of the ability. Yeah, I don't know sets enough to know what's right or wrong in that situation. But it's a very interesting, definitely an interesting play, and I'm kind of curious to what Snacks, if you're watching this, I'd definitely like to get your take on your thoughts on that particular, why you would dump the hand there, and versus not dumping the hand there. Just more for my own education on the sets play. It's one of the few characters that I haven't explored because I just don't really like the character as far as for my own playstyle. I think it's a greatly designed character. It's just not a character that I would play. I have a king here. I'm really wanting to kind of keep sets off her feet as much as I possibly can. This will take care of any attack that comes my way. So I went for it, and it's an excellent trade for me. Plus the knockdown, so that's why I played that. Let's see here. So now I'm in a situation where I could close out with a normal. So I think that's what I go with here. I think I go with the 7, yeah. And make him make me. Basically, he's got to stop it. Is his only choice there, so I just go ahead and go for that. Here I go to dodge, thinking another attack's coming. But the only reads I have at that point, I have the kill in hand by dodging. And I wasn't 100% a throw was going to come yet, so I do get that blocked, which is fine. He may not have had any follow-ups for that based on the card quality. But here I'm in a pretty bad spot. Pretty much any odd normal will beat me. I don't have any way to blow through it. And I wouldn't say like I'm in a bad spot. I'm more in a bad spot from the perspective of just I don't have any good options here other than really a block. So I go, since I have 2 jacks, I go ahead and go for the Hail Mary. If it hits, I win. If not, I got enough life. We'll see what happens on the next turn, and that was the reason I played it. And it ended up working out in my favor. I'm going to assume my read on that is that there just wasn't any good options, or felt like there was any good options. I can understand wanting to keep the 5s because it powers up to make it easier for to dump. But really, that's really the only option there. especially if he thinks I'm gonna just block it out. Plus, let's see, throw 4/5 linker, 5 gets to keep the Joker. Yeah, it dumps his entire hand. Yeah, I can totally see that. Otherwise, he gets stuck with a 9 in hand. Yeah, that was actually his only. Okay, that was actually the only play because if throughout the 5, yeah, it would hit, but be left with the throw and the Joker because no way to pump. That's rough. All right. So that's the games. Really the first game was the one that really set me for a loop, and then the second game I went for an exciting finish and put myself in kind of danger, but I was able to navigate. And then this game just had a couple really strong openers and just had to close out. So happy how it went. Not happy that I played Zane. We all kid a little bit. He's a really good character, and I think it's an important character to at least know how to play. Not necessarily at the top level, but just competently, because there's a lot of other strong characters like DeGray, like Geiger, that it's good to have in your pocket. It's the same thing. Like, you should really, even if you don't play grapplers, you should know Troc very specifically against Zane. It's Zane's worst matchup by like just a country mile. So it's one of those things where you just have to like feel like if you're going to be a person that doesn't stick like with one main, or you're looking to kind of cover up maybe some bad matchups and stuff like that, learning Zane and learning Troc are fairly important. And the reason being, Zane takes care of some of the other tops, and then Troc takes care of Zane. Like, and that should be enough. You don't necessarily have to play DeGray or Geiger. You could just you don't need those. I don't think they necessarily counterpick anybody very well. They just play well in general. They have some strong matchups, yes, for sure. But I wouldn't necessarily feel like they're counterpicks. I feel like they're more just strong characters, whereas Zane counterpicks some of the strong characters and Troc counterpicks Zane. So that's it. Thanks for watching. Hopefully we'll get another win. We're in a pretty good spot right now. I believe 7-2. There's still 2 players with 1 loss. One the Vendetta player I played very early on. I'm his only loss, so I have the tiebreakers there, so that's good for me. But I definitely need Ginger Vitox to get a loss too. But he's looking super strong. So we'll see how that goes. They do play each other still at some point, so that'll be a very interesting match to watch. They're still X and 1. So, but thank you everyone, and I'll see you next time.